My Capricorn Friend is an incredible story about bullying, compassion, murder, and one's will to live that ultimately asks the question, is it justified to kill someone just because they're a bad person? Well, you're gonna have to work out the answer to that one yourself, because today I'm trying to find out if it's really possible for the wind to be powerful enough to send objects through time. This will make a lot more sense if you just read the thing, so go do that. The manga is only 7 chapters long and is deserving of every second of your time. So in the story, our main character Yuya lives on the second floor of his family home. Despite the air being calm around the town, there is a mysteriously strong wind that blows directly into the side of his house. It's so powerful that everything from leaves to objects to animals end up on his balcony. One day in September, a piece of newspaper from October of the same year lands on his balcony. On one side, it has an article about a goat escaping from a zoo and getting on a train in Tokyo. And on the other side, it reports about a murder case that happens in his town, and how the perpetrator ends their own life soon after. We know this paper is truly from the future, as the murder, commitment, and most importantly the goat escape all happen in the manga. Yuya also says he's found objects from the past on his balcony before, like a candy wrapper that expired over 100 years ago. His theory is that the wind magically collects things from parallel worlds. Personally, I think that's kind of a cop-out, and I cannot allow a 10 out of 10 story to have cop-outs, so let's see if this would ever actually be possible. A good place to start would be working out exactly how strong the wind is in the story. The heaviest thing we see it move is a puppy. I don't know much about dogs, but this looks close enough to a golden retriever, putting its weight at around 4 kilograms. It's generally accepted that it takes 10 newtons of force to lift 1 kilogram, so you would only need 14 newtons of force to lift 4 kilograms. To work out the speed of the wind needed to do this, we can use this equation. This will be on your final, so pay attention. F is the force needed to lift the dog, which we just worked out is 40 newtons. P is the air density. I'm going to be a little dodgy here and just use the average 1.225. To calculate the actual answer, you need to know temperature, humidity, and height above sea level, which is clearly impossible. A is the frontal surface area of the object. How do you work out the surface area of a dog? I'm not quite sure, but apparently some people have. Surprisingly, it's readily available information on the internet. For a 4 kilogram dog, it's 0.254 meters squared. C is the drag coefficient. This depends on the shape and position of the object. For a small dog, let's just go with 0.5 and call it a day. Sub in all your numbers, run it through a calculator, and we get wind moving 23 meters a second or 82 kilometers an hour. That's a fairly strong gale. Obviously strong enough to make small dogs fly at you, but also to the point where you'd be looking at possible damage to your property. The important thing is, so far this is completely possible. So then, is time travel possible? Well, theoretically, yes. The most logically feasible way of time traveling is to move really fast. A person's, or in this case, an object like a piece of paper's, experience of time is only relative to themselves. The quicker you move, the less time you'll experience passing than those who move slower than you. This is best shown by the twin paradox. One twin stays on Earth while the other travels into space on a fast-moving rocket. When the twin in space returns to Earth, even though the same amount of time has passed for both of them, the twin who went to space will be younger than the twin who stayed on Earth, because of the amount of time they spent moving at a high speed. So theoretically, if an object was moved very quickly, it would be able to pass through time without experiencing any decay or aging. In other words, time traveling to the future. So is 82 kilometers an hour close to the speed we need to be at to travel through time? No, not even remotely. To actually do this, you would need to move faster than the speed of light, or about 300,000 kilometers a second. And unfortunately, that's just not possible, and would cause a whole ton of problems even if it was. For what we see in the series, 82 kilometer an hour winds is actually fairly realistic. Get any faster than that, and I'm talking only like 20 or 30 kilometers an hour faster, and you're looking at severe property damage. Forget about the dogs. The glass door is shattered, the house has lost its roof, and Yuya is now roommates with a tree. Obviously, it's also just physically impossible for wind on Earth to get anywhere near that fast. The highest wind speed ever recorded on Earth was 408 kilometers an hour in 1996, which funnily enough was recorded on Barrow Island, Australia, in case you were doubting how qualified I am to be talking about this. But once again, this is not even close to the speed we need to time travel. Hell, even if some gust of wind actually managed to get to the speed of light, there is no way a candy wrapper or a piece of newspaper would ever survive it. It would be crushed, catch on fire, and disintegrate due to air resistance well before it got to the point of time travel. And after all this, there's still one glaring issue I haven't mentioned yet. All this theoretical time travel stuff I've been talking about actually only makes it possible to travel into the future, not the past. No matter matter how fast the wind moves, there is no conceivable way for it to drag something into the past. If you ignored all the issues with lightspeed travel, you could say it could be technically possible for a 100-year-old candy wrapper to blow onto Yuya's balcony. But for the newspaper from the future, the driving force of the whole plot to end up on his balcony is completely and utterly impossible. So I guess Yuya is right, and the wind magically connects to parallel worlds. Who would have thought just listening to the story would give you the right answer from the start? But hey, at least you now know how to calculate the wind speed needed to move a dog. Thank you for your time.